emotional, whatever the case may be. But then he came back to his old evil ways, and so this would have been the same solution. That's why God allowed, like, his heart wasn't gonna change, and so God was like, "Well, you made your decision, so I can't do nothing else with you." And that's where he goes into dealing with that familiar spirit of Samuel, which is not Samuel, but it's a familiar spirit. So, because people aren't, I mean, especially people in heaven, they're not coming back. And I don't, I know it's a nice thing to say, and I get it, and I won't shut anybody down who says it, but people aren't coming back or looking down on us and smiling and no, like,
watching over.
Yeah, and watching, like, I love, Lord knows, I love Isaiah. Like, I love that boy, but he is not watching over us. He doesn't need to. First of all, like, why? Isaiah was human just like us. He's not watching over us. Isaiah right now is getting some kingdom education that I wish I was getting. Some revelation. Isaiah is seeing some things that, like, we can only imagine. I mean, if there was a moment where we could phone heaven and be like, bro, what do you see? Man, Donnell, ooh, remember? He would just, I'm like, slow down, man. Tell me first thing you see. You wouldn't understand, but it's like this big gold thing. Like, but I mean, Isaiah hasn't even got 1% probably into the kingdom of heaven. So he's got a lot to explore. And so, but it's a nice thing to say. Like, they're smiling at, like, Brother Samuel's, when I would speak or whatever, he would say, who's looking down smiling at you, right? No, just smile and be like, yes, sir. But I'm just like, look, I know my mom hasn't been here for a while, but she's still exploring the kingdom of heaven. She's still gaining more things about Christ that we can only imagine, because, like Paul says, we only know in part. And so, go ahead.
Because I think the word says that even after this, because I'm wondering, do they know about this place? Because there's going to be a new heaven and new earth, so we ain't going to even know about this place no more, right?
And
or am I jumping?
No, I don't. That I don't know,
because our own pastor was like, like, I'm not even gonna know, our wife or anything like that. Like, we may not even know each other.
Yeah, and
what's your say?
She was saying that our pastor had said, like, you're gonna get to heaven, you're not gonna know your wife, you're not gonna know each other, and I just kind of disagree, only because of what I've read with in the word, where it talks about it even talks about when the poor man Lazarus and the rich man, how the rich man remembered Lazarus, and so Lazarus remembered the poor. I mean, the Lazarus remembered the rich man as well, but they, of course, Lazarus couldn't get to him. The rich man couldn't get to him because there was a great gulf. But they remembered each other from earth.
Maybe because they were in different places.
So what about the scripture where it says that about where this woman married all the brothers, and at the end said at the resurrection or whatever, who wife would she be? Then they say, well, they needed married or beginning to marry.
Yeah, no, I don't think there'll be any more marriage, but I think we will remember each other. Okay. And now, I can't tell you how. Like, I can't sit here and be like, I'm going to remember being married to Chelsea and, all the things that we did and whatever. I don't think from that standpoint, I'll know her. I guess you can say I'll know who she is, but we'll be in so much light and so much goodness. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think maybe that's left up to God to know. Because, we don't totally disagree with our pastor, but then, like, I don't think anyone really knows.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear about, of course, the boy who went to heaven and said he saw his sister, and Jesus was like, "This is your sister," or because of course he didn't know because his mom had the miscarriage before he was born, and then he didn't recognize her. But then God was like, "This is your sister," and so I was like, "Okay, well, God is bringing this, up to him," and the boy was able to come back and tell his mom like, "You had a miscarriage, like I have a sister." Like I'm like, okay, well, how could he, know that if he's in a heaven and he doesn't really, remember things? And then I think about, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's Jesse Duplantis when he talks about that God brought him up to heaven, his encounter being in heaven. It's like a real old school one where Jesse Duplantis was really young, but he talks about seeing David and Peter and these people. He talks about seeing Peter at the gate, and I think he sees Paul. I think he sees a bunch of people from the Bible. That's why I'm like, how can we get to heaven and not remember, or not recognize people or know people?
Well, those people came back, right? Or saw a vision, right?
Those people.
You said Jesse Duplantis or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they're back on Earth to tell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think God gives us certain things He wants us, like to certain people that He knows are going to be witnesses and to tell, if that makes sense. I don't think that's handed out freely, to tell you the truth. Because some people wouldn't say a word. He chooses who to give a vision to, or who to send to hell and back, or send to heaven and back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what my thinking is on that.
What'd she say?
She was saying, basically, like when these people went or had a vision in heaven and God sent them back, He basically gave them like who they would talk to, right?
Well, like, I think God chooses and designates, who He wants to, give visions to, or who to send to hell and back, or who to send to heaven and back, because He knows who will be a testimony, who will witness, and who won't, and what effect it'll come from that person, especially if they're far away from church and never read the Bible a day in their lives, and they're like, okay, yeah, we believe it's coming from you because you never opened a lick of the Bible. Like someone that you wouldn't think. But I don't know. I don't mean it. But I really think God chooses who to do that to. And then I've also saw videos like of people praying for that. I want to see what it looks like. Now, me personally, like, I don't want to see what hell looks like. Heaven, yes. But some people pray for that, and then God answers, and maybe He doesn't. Like, we don't know how God moves, and sometimes we don't even know the reason, but we just trust and believe it's all for our good and for those around us. Sounds weird.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. No.
I know, because we're very inquisitive people, so we want to know everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we'll know people. We'll have a different understanding of each other. I don't know. I feel like we'll know each other. We'll just kind of have a different understanding. Cause I don't know. I don't know. I don't see how, Peter and the disciples can know and remember each other, but when we get there, it's gonna be like, who are you? I'm sorry, how? What? You know, I don't know. Maybe we won't. Maybe it'll just be a, hey, you know, glad to see you. I don't know. We'll just be so much wrapped in His goodness that we won't think about that
or care.
Yeah, or care for any of that. But I mean, I just don't know. I feel like we will remember each other, but not necessarily like the sinful things or the times that you offended me or I offended you. I just think we'll just be so much in His goodness, like, hey, we made it. Yeah, we here. Ain't this,
We made it.
You know, like, ain't this, man, look at this. Look at what God did for us. Look at your mansion. Look at my mansion. Wow. Like, this is, because, I mean, we're going to lay a crown at His feet. So how can we not remember what we did? I mean, He could tell us, like, hey, you got this crown because you saved so-and-so, or you allowed me to use you to give grace to so-and-so, or I don't know. But I feel like, you know, we're going to be laying a crown at His feet, like, we might remember a little bit of what we did here on earth, especially if He's going to be, you know, not necessarily judging us for the wrong things we did, but, you know, judging us for the work we did here on earth. Like, maybe after that, we just forget because we're wrapped up in His goodness. I don't know. But in my opinion, things will remember each other, but I can't give you, like...
Opinion. I'm sorry.
My opinion is we'll remember each other. Other people's opinions will be we won't. And they may have their words to back it up. I just feel like we will, but not really from our understanding of how we think we'll remember each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And even if we don't, I guess we'll get to know each other again.
Hey, how you doing? Who are you?
That sounds familiar. You know what? I think I remember hearing that somewhere on earth. No. I don't know. Because, I mean, we're going to come back here. So, I don't know. I don't know. Because, yeah. The enemy's going to reign for 1,000 years on earth. And then we're going to come back. And I guess that's when we go to war with Jesus and destroy the enemy. And then we get into the new heaven and the new earth. I mean, I can't speak on it too strongly because I haven't read Revelations like that. But I don't know. It's just, I guess I can just leave it at I don't know. You don't know, don't know. You don't know.
And sometimes it's good to be in the I don't know. You know, God gives us information, or like I said, to certain individuals who have the strength to know right now and, you know what to do with that information. And He hides some information from people that He knows will kind of jump the gun on certain things and try to, okay, Lord, so we got to prepare. We got to stock up, because the enemies are coming. Like, those type of people He can't reveal things to right now because they'll start panicking. And, and so it's like, okay, just because I know in Revelation it says, even when even when some of the seals are broke or not broken, but are untied or unveiled, like God's people, the enemy can't touch because His seal will be on our foreheads. And so, yeah, I just knowing that, you're God's child, you're protected is good enough right now. That, and if He reveals something to you, then it's, to use, but not to throw people into a frenzy, so to speak.
Right. So, yeah, okay, that's good. Just doing that kind of to say, okay, well, now how bad is it? I mean, if you trust, you're not gonna go in that panic mode.
Right, like he knows who, when, where, and what time to give certain people revelations of certain things.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
On a side note, sorry, I was going back reading 1 Samuel 28, right? You know, Saul, he never saw Samuel.
What?
Saul never saw Samuel. Like, he never, when he is in contact with the medium, Samuel doesn't appear to Saul's vision, if you will. I mean, maybe I'm the only one who missed this, but when I always read this, I always pictured Saul talking to Samuel's familiar spirit, like him seeing the familiar spirit. He never sees the familiar spirit. So he doesn't know, because this is what it says.
What, 28 what?
Verses 12. And it says, when the woman saw Samuel, when the medium saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice, and the woman spoke to Saul, saying, "Why have you deceived me? For you are Saul." And the king said to her, "Do not be afraid. What did you see?" And the woman said to Saul, "I saw a spirit ascending out of the earth." So he said to her, "What is his form?" So he's not seeing this, the woman is. And she said, "An old man is coming up, and he is covered with a mantle." And then in verse 14 it says, "And Saul perceived it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed down." So she just described an old man with a mantle. And Saul, from then on, Saul perceived that was Samuel. He never saw him. He just took he took what the woman said, and he painted his own picture of it. And that's exactly what the enemy wants you to do. Wow.
Ooh, revelation.
Ooh.
Come on, Jesus.
Wow. Saul never saw Samuel. He just took the woman's word and perceived that it was Samuel. Because he puts his face in the ground. Even so much so, he acts as if it's Samuel's. He puts his face in the ground and he bows down. So he painted this picture of Samuel based on what the woman described because of his own perception. So, truth be told, this could have just been an old man with a mantle on that the demons just conjured up. Because
And then 15 says that Samuel said to Saul.
now Samuel said to Saul, and mine has a footnote by it. It says, "This was the familiar spirit impersonating Samuel in form, knowledge, and prophecy." And so, I mean, the enemy could have just conjured up anybody, and based on what he knew about Samuel, I could give information to Saul. Because, of course, the woman has no clue who Samuel was or what he looked like. Because she just described an old man with a mantle. Ooh, that could have been anybody. And so, that's because it's taking on that perspective that because Saul perceived that it was Samuel, now it's almost like it's going into his mindset now. Now Samuel said to Saul. Now because he thinks this is Samuel, he says to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" And that could be, really that could be anybody. Because if you put me on the phone with an impersonator who can impersonate Donald Trump, or because I know this guy who does really good impersonations, if you put me on the phone and say, "Hey, you're talking to Jay-Z," in my mind, because he sounds so much like Jay-Z, I think I'm talking to Jay-Z. And the information that he's seen Jay-Z with, he'll take on that information and use those type of words that Jay-Z uses to deceive me that much more, to say, "Oh man, I'm really talking to Jay-Z." But here's where Saul messed up is when Samuel says, tomorrow you and your son, well, this familiar spirit says, tomorrow you and your son will be with me. Like, Saul should immediately knew that this wasn't Samuel. Because if anything, if he thought it was, he should have rejoiced and said, oh, well, I'm going to get to be with Samuel. I know Samuel's in the righteousness of God. He was a prophet of God. So, okay, well, shoot, you can take me out today if I'm going to get to be with you.
Take me now, Lord.
Yeah, like, but Saul is so ignorant and foolish and blinded by his own, I don't know what you would want to call it, by his own, I guess his own ignorance, pretty much, that he doesn't even catch that. But I'm just stuck on, this whole time I thought he was looking at Samuel's familiar spirit,
Yeah.
not even realizing that it's the woman that sees this old man with the mantle, and then it says Saul perceived it was Samuel. So now we have to take Saul's word that this familiar spirit is Samuel when it's really not Samuel, but because Saul has been so deceived in his perspective that he thinks this is Samuel and he misses the whole thing. Now what this familiar spirit tells Saul is not a lie. It's the truth, but it's the fact of the matter is it's not Samuel. Like,
That's creepy.
it's, yeah, that is. Just he was like, that's creepy. Like, that is creepy.
You talking possible demon?
Yeah, you're talking, and that's what makes mediums so dangerous, because you can't see the spirit, you just see them, and they tell you what they see. I see a green shirt. Oh, she used to wear this green dress, and it had gold on it. And you're basically giving them information. You know what? You're basically dressing up the familiar spirit to your image of what you think that it may be.
Weird.
Crazy.
People believe that.
And yeah, and that's where people start to believe that stuff. I see she said there used to be a toy that you used to, oh yeah, it was my grandmother's favorite toy to give me when I was a child. Boom. And the enemy is like, I'm gonna take this message and run with this.
You hit them in that emotion, which is their vulnerability.
Yeah.
Especially a close one that died. And it's like, okay. Like, I know we already brought up that movie. The Two. It's a cartoon movie. Anyway, where the
Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Wreck-It Ralph 2, where the viruses, they, like demons or like the enemy, knows your vulnerabilities and goes straight for that. So when it comes to mediums, the enemy is using that medium, so to speak, to pinpoint out this huge vulnerability of emotion, of sadness, of losing a family member, and hits that real quick to tie you and to rope you, reel you in, and it's like, okay, I got you. And you start believing just pure nonsense.
Yeah. Sorry. That was just a side note. Because I'm sitting here reading and I was like, wait a minute. He never saw Samuel. He took this woman's word and perceived and just ran with it from there. Like, how many times? Wow, okay, Lord, I'm seeing it now. How many times have we taken, now I'm not saying that they're false, but that we've taken a prophet or prophetess's word and perceived it to be one thing and we ran with it from there. Without sitting and waiting and saying, wait a minute, hold on, I need some more information. So
I need to pray about that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I need some more information because I know what you're saying here, Lord. Oh, the Lord said, you're going to be the CEO of such and such company. And I don't have no degrees. I need some more information on, whoa, wait a minute. I need to find out, okay, Lord, how do you plan to get me there? And what are the steps I need to take in trusting you to get me there? Instead of saying, running around the church, and like, there's nothing wrong with being excited about that stuff, but running around the church because you perceive it to be, oh, I'm about to be the CEO making six figures, without realizing that God's like, they have no clue what they about to go through
Exactly.
to get to the CEO. You first are going to be you
Broke.
first are going to be the maintenance person of that building at the bottom of the floor, living in and out of your car before you get to the top of that building and you can get your own condo or mansion or whatever. But because we've taken that word and we've perceived it to be one way, and that's how, wow, okay, Lord, I understand that. That's how some people miss out on their blessing, because, or they start to criticize the man of God or woman of God and say that they're false because you said I would do this and I would do that,
And come right now, Lord.
and it did not happen. And it's like, wait a minute, did you go back to God's word and see his blueprint of how he was going to get you there? Like, I don't know, this is
Just like I said, blueprint.
this is opening up some things.
That's
because
good.
it's like, wow, he never saw. He took the woman's word for, I see an old man with a mantle, and he was like, that's Samuel. That sure is Samuel. Talk to me, Samuel. Well, why has God left me? I'm deeply distressed, and God has departed from me and does not answer me anymore, neither by prayers nor by dreams. Therefore I have called you, that you may reveal to me what I should do. And in that moment, he opened himself wide open. Like, he opened himself up completely.
What did it say? Holy Spirit, you'll be revived, like, or your spirit will be cleansed. But you gotta refill it with the word, or the enemy will come in like 7 times stronger.
That parable, when Jesus talks about, the enemy comes back to the clean house, and once he's seen that it's swept and clean, he brings 7 more spirits worse than him, or 7 more demons worse than him, because that house never got filled with the right stuff. It got cleaned, but it never replaced what used to be there. It just cleaned it up.
There was no replenishment.
And so, I mean, Saul here just completely, he opens himself up as soon as he perceives, as soon as he thought that this is what it was, he opened himself wide open for any suggestion, any opinion.
He didn't go to God first.
Yeah, he didn't go to God. He went to a medium, and now it's not God talking anymore. It's not, I want to hear from God. It's, I want to hear what this medium has to say. And so the enemy says, oh, you want to hear from me? Oh, you came to me. Well, let me tell you.
Some mess.
But here's the thing, though. The enemy did tell him what was to happen, because there is evil spirits that know some things. Because, I mean, truth be told, the enemy knows what's going to happen to him
In his own kingdom.
He knows what's going to, he knows he's on his way to destruction. And so, if the enemy knows that, and we're not even to that point, if you will, yet, imagine what else he may know, that especially if you go to him, how he can manipulate what you don't know.
Just like when he was tempting Jesus. He knows scripture, but messed it up. Perverted it.
Yeah, Chelsea was talking about, just like he did Jesus in the wilderness. He knew scripture, but he twisted that word. But because Jesus knew the word, he knew, wait a minute, nope, thou shalt not test the Lord thy God. And so, in that same sense, really the enemy could have told this man anything, and Saul would have fell for it. And I mean, like I said, he told him the truth. Like, tomorrow, he wasn't lying, tomorrow you and your sons are going to be with me. But that was the thing. That was the deception. He hid in plain sight. You're going to be with me. Did you catch that, Saul? You're not going to be with Samuel. You're going to be with this familiar spirit. That's what this familiar spirit is talking about.
Lord knows where that is.
And so because of your perception, that's what the enemy preys on. I want you to perceive it to be a certain way. You know, I want you to see it this way and not go to God. Don't go to him for instruction. Don't go to him for guidance. No, I want you to hear it from God, and then I want you to create in your own mind how you think it should be. And once you do that, I can play off of that. I can play off of that, because now when it doesn't happen, you're going to stop trusting God and think he failed you. And I'm just going to add fuel to the fire and say, yep, he don't hear you. I told you. You might as well go back to the club. You might as well go back to the weed. You might as well go back to the alcohol. Because when you stepped away from it, did it work? Obviously not. Because God still ain't answered.
Sound like an old man.
Obviously not. So, but just saying, just from that perspective of what we can think it should be and how dangerous that is. Like now, it's opened my eyes even more to how dangerous it is to perceive, especially when you hear a word, and it can be an accurate word from a man or woman of God, that you're just like, wow, okay, and you start to think, ooh, I see it happening like this. Okay, I see it going this way.
It ain't your way.
They gonna promote me tomorrow because they've been talking about how they like how I do this job and that job, and now, Lord, you just confirm it. You getting a promotion at this job. You going to the next level
Today.
But that next level may start you at the bottom level to get you to the top. Because God says, I need to shake some things off of you. Because at this point, this version of you is not ready for that level. So let me tell you how I'm going to get you there. I'm going to tell you you're capable of it because I'm working in you.
Right. Let me position you first.
Yeah, but let me put you in that place. But then you fall in that dangers of, well, shoot, the Lord told me I'm getting promoted.
Where
I'm
that?
walk up in there. Matter of fact, I'm going to the mall today
Mm-hmm.
and spend all my little money because I'm getting promoted. So I'm going to be able to afford this. So let me go ahead and get what I need to get. And then all of a sudden, you lose that position. And you go to a lower ranking position in that same building. That very same building that God said you're going to be the CEO of. And now, the enemy's like, I got you. I can play with your imagination now. Or I can play from your imagination. Yeah, that prophet lied. He's a prophet liar. That's what he is.
Here we go.
You don't need to associate with him no more. And you start to find yourself getting away from somebody who is connected to God that can help you grow your relationship with Christ, all because of how you perceived it and how the enemy played on what you perceived and used it to get you to disconnect from God. And so now you don't even acknowledge him anymore. I mean, like, my wife said, he didn't even go to God. He went to a medium. And that was the first open door. The enemy was like, okay, cool.
Hey, you skip God? Okay, that's my biggest enemy.
So you completely giving up on God. Oh, like you for real, for real. Oh, okay.
I can work with that.
I can do some stuff. But yeah, I didn't mean to go that way, but when I was reading this, I was like, man, Saul never saw Samuel. Like I was just saying, like, he could only take her word for it. And when he took her word for it, because of his ignorance, he ran with it. And so did the enemy.
Yeah.
It's like,
instead of praying about it, make sure, but
And so I don't know, that makes mediums that much more dangerous because, you're sitting here like, you're talking to this person that you think is talking to your dad or your best friend or your late husband or wife. Like, you're looking at them, they looking at you, and now you perceive because they say a certain thing. Like my wife says, they say something like that triggers an emotion in you or triggers something.
You start crying.
And now all of a sudden, that's why it's so important that we don't be moved by our feelings and our emotions, but we be moved by faith. Because when we hit our feelings and our emotions, those things take us to a completely different space from where God is trying to direct us to. And he says, wait a minute, I told you to stand by faith. I said the just live by faith, not by feeling. You know, we don't live by our emotions. We walk by faith, not by sight. Mm-hmm. Sight is part of the senses, but faith is part of the spirit. So this is what we walk by. We don't live in this emotional realm. Like, I give you emotions, but they're not supposed to ever govern your decisions.
Yeah.
Like, I give you my spirit so it can take you where your emotions can't, you know? But I don't know. That's, like, I'm like, man. I mean, I don't need to talk to nobody about it. It's just good to me. Like,
you started something.
Like, I'm just like, man, this is what I love about God's word is, like, seeing something over and over, but then, like, he opens your eyes to something that you like, man, I haven't read this scripture I don't know how many times, and it's just so exciting to me, because I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, wow, like, thank you, Aunt Jackie, you know, leading me to places, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that. He didn't. I'm sitting here and see, look, perfect example. I perceived that Saul had seen Samuel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, the woman did, this medium did, but all Saul could do was take her word for it. And I mean, he was already in a dangerous place, but he even went even deeper when he, of course, didn't consult God, and he went to another flawed human to find out some information. I say it like that because, I mean, we listen to flawed humans through, you know, our pastors, whatever. He went to a flawed human that wasn't connected to God to get some information. That's just how dangerous that is. And then took his perception of what she said and believed it was something that it wasn't. And it was, I mean, it was part of the thing that led to his destruction, but I mean, he was heading that way anyway. He just, I guess you can say, speeded up the process, if you will. I don't know.
This Bible study.
She was just repeating what you said. She was just repeating what you said.
I enjoy y'all. Y'all have a good